Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Facebook's on. I'm now going to Instagram. A minute. Okay, Instagram is also going live. Checking connection, and you're now live.
Hello. And good afternoon. Mark Stephen Doss here. Mark S. Doss giving you a shout out on a Sunday afternoon to try to give us some peace of mind. Sort of body and the soul. We're trying to fill in the gaps that are sort of missing these days, especially as the time has gone on with the social distancing and our self-quarantining. We're trying to get a little stir crazy. And maybe a little too early before this curve starts to come down enough and the testing goes up so that we can figure out ways that we can go out and safely participate in the things that we used to do. We want to be very much conscious of our need to be together. We're doing that through social media. We're reaching out. And I wanted to talk to you about some of the background things, or we talk about the mind. I'm giving you some pieces today that we're trying to explore a little bit. First of which is Somebody Bigger Than You and I, a piece that was very much inspired by Mario Lanza and even Elvis Presley, and used by Billy Graham in his movie Oil Town, USA. We're watching that movie, sort of has a wonderful sort of, it's in the background more so, but again, it gives the sense of nature. Johnny Lang put together the words on the golf course, California. He found, looked around and he saw the mountains, and he just started writing. He said the words sort of wrote themselves. So it's all about nature and our appreciation for that. And I'm going to do the 23rd Psalm by Malat. Again, the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. This time that we have to consider that the shepherd is here to guide us and to be trusting in God. That wonderful poem, I have a little bit, we'll go into it and more extensively at a later time. The psalmist David put together so that it comes from perspective. I have a wonderful book from an actual shepherd, so you can see what the Lord is my shepherd is all about. And then we'll do a piece called I Believe, which is was a very popular one at one time. So this is, again, something that came together for a piece that was a letter written to someone that was serving in Korea at the time, was a soldier, and given to that person so that the common person would know what faith is about. And that, I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. And so all that was very touching for people at that time. And so we returned to that. And it's more important to deal with possibly the spiritual as opposed to even the economic and the intellectual. But the intellectual is going to be happening here because I'm giving you some MIDI renditions of my accompaniment. I've gotten more advanced through those so that you have something that doesn't distract you. And it's nothing that can replace a live accompanist. But in this sense, I've done many years of MIDI, which is a musical instrument digital interface. And we are putting together some things that I can bend things and make them louder, softer at some point. So this is what you'll be experiencing without knowing it, hopefully. That's what the goal is with these pieces. Otherwise, going back to the music, I'll finish off with Our Father, which is another Malat piece. And again, the most recited prayer in all Christianity, basically, with all the different religions of the Christianity have taken that on in their services. So we will go through that a little bit in depth, but for the most part, it's about, again, feeling the body connected, because, again, we're sort of indoors. So I have my weighted hula hoop I can grab right here. And I don't know how much I can do with that, but then I use that to constantly, if I don't destroy things around me, so that we can keep our movement going and feel the breath coming in and out of our bodies. And so as much as I can, I try to do that when I'm here and meditate and breathe so that we're ready to do some singing. I have that for my students when doing master classes and whatnot. So that and a little bit of juggling. I have some weighted juggling balls here that gives me a little extra weight I'm going to pull that up right now just to give you an idea how those work, so they help out with the words and help out with my old physical, because these are really heavy. These are cannonballs, basically. So they give me a little bit more arm strength as well. So a lot of moving around. Jump rope comes in. We'll do the jump rope for you right now. But that's kind of the body element of it. And I just talked about the the intellectual with the music and the different words that we're going to deal with. And again, we talk about the spirituality of all this, because tie this all together. This is about you, what you're doing at home. Singing is building positive endorphins, even in little rounds that you do. Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya, oh Lord, kumbaya. I used to sing that with my sister, through the night, through the day, and it gave solace. So when you're confined and you have this ability to do some simple things, engage in them, because they will bring you better health and better ability to sustain times when you're alone. All right, so and we're going to start here with the Somebody Bigger Than You and I. This is a wonderful rendition.
I need to be back a little further, please.
So. Who made the mountain? Who made the tree? Who made the river flow to the sea? And who hung the moon in the starry sky? Somebody bigger than you and I. Who makes the flowers bloom in the spring? Who writes the song for the robin to sing? And who sends the rain when the earth is dry? Somebody bigger than you and I. He lights the way when the road is long, keeps you company, with love to guide you. He walks beside you, just like he walks with me. When I am weary, filled with despair, who gives me courage to go on from there? And who gives me faith that will never die? Somebody bigger than you and I. He lights the way when the road is long, keeps you company, with love to guide you. He walks beside you, just like he walks with me. When I am weary, filled with despair, who gives me courage to go on from there? And who gives me faith that will never die? Somebody bigger than you and I. And I appreciate all your comments coming forth. Please do continue those. It's a wonderful thing to see some response, some interaction. We're trying to make this interactive as much as possible.
Let me check the Facebook thingy. Framing, yep, I guess that's fine. I haven't looked at it since the beginning, so great. Diane's applauding.
Great.
All right, we're good.
Okay, so we move on to the 23rd Psalm I'm going to do. This is the Malat. Malat was an organist, pianist, educator, and did some movie scripts as well. So his best known work is the Lord's Prayer, but this 23rd Psalm has gotten, is also one that's well known. The Beatitudes he has also written. I've sung the 23rd Psalm many times in services. I don't know if I've ever done actually the two together, the 23rd Psalm and the Lord's Prayer, but interesting reflection here. Shepherd's Look at the Psalm 23 is by Philip Keller. And if you want to pick that up, he has a lot of insight into that. It just basically breaks it up into 12 different sections that the shepherd, from the perspective of a shepherd, and talking about the sheep and how they are constantly looking forward to the things that they need to do. I think my cup runneth over, thou anointest my head with oil. Interesting little take on that. The oil that he talks about with the sheep have this sort of bug that flies around that and tries to get into their system and then causes all kinds of inflammation and whatnot once they get, and they have a special oil there, a linseed oil, and a sort of a combination of things that would allow that to become better. So that sense of anoints my head with oil, I thought, oh, that's another perspective on that. I always thought of it just as in a service sort of a way that we have anointing with oil, but very much again in the perspective of a shepherd. So it's quite poignant. But the Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want, and and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. The final passage in that. So it's Malat's 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever.
just going to check to make sure both are still online. The Instagram seems to be fine. And yes, Facebook is fine. Sorry, I'm not sitting somewhere I can see Facebook the whole time. So I have to keep checking, and it seems like it's up. Thank you.
Yes, and now we make a little transition back to the more simple type of things. Again, this soldier that was stationed in Korea that needed some sense of hope and faith. And the time, even early on, these songs from the 30s, 40s, 50s, when there was that, going through the depression, a very difficult time for all the people in the world, and again during wars, so it was quite a stressful time. And this was something that brought solace and peace to a lot of people. So, this, I believe. I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, sees a candle that glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe. I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the crate somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Thank you. Oh.
The word is it's clearer on Instagram this time for some reason.
Okay.
Not sure why. It's still the same setup as a few weeks ago, but if I was a techie, I might have an answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Wikipedia person, so I don't know.
Right. Well, good. I like being creative with sometimes with the words. It's a nice time to go through things and figure out which way you're going. For this last one, again, this is the prayer that is most recited in all of Christianity, the Our Father. Again, wonderful book on that I was just meditating on yesterday. Is Emmett Fox. There's the Sermon on the Mount, and then he also gives a special section on the Lord's Prayer, breaking it up into 7 different elements. Our Father being the first one, just to concentrate on too much of that, but it does give amazing. The simple statement itself constitutes a definite and complete system of theology. That Our Father, that we have an identification right away from that prayer. Many times we recited the prayer. Sometimes it's just recited. But then when people really break it down, as my time in the seminary, I tried to remember always that let's say it as if you're doing it for the first time, always for the first time, always for the first time. And so you find different things each time you go through it, to the sense of the 8th actually phrase, for thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever and ever. He gives them much thought on that. So again, this is Emmett Fox's book, Sermon on the Mount. It's really a good point of inspiration for that. We'll go into that at a later time as well.
So you said this is the last one, right?
Yeah. Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Thanks for joining me. It's been a great time and a privilege. And we're trying to explore next time, 1:30 Eastern Time, 12:30 Central Time next week. We're going to explore 4 more pieces, 2 spirituals, Deep River with the Mark Hayes arrangement. Mark Hayes himself playing at the recorded piano. And then we have a couple of songs, some How Great Thou Art, very much a throwback, as well as A Mighty Fortress. We'll do a little bit of the opera connection with that, Seigneur Rempart, which is from the Huguenots. And then we're going to finish that off with Ride on King Jesus. We're only a bit separated from the Palm Sunday when Jesus rode in on the donkey. So we're going to explore that a little bit as well. So those are four we'll look forward to next Sunday. If you can join us, really appreciate that. And again, it's 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central. And thank you very much. This has been a privilege, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Signing off Instagram. And bye. See you again. Thanks for coming. Love you. Miss you. Bye. Hugs. Virtual hugs.